support all of those impacted by this loss. They didn't release any other details as to exactly what happened, but it is just a sad story for sure.
It is. My goodness.
Yeah.
15 years old. It's just way too young.
Did you ever have a teammate, not obviously tragically passed, but deal with the heat? Because heat can be a problem when you first get out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, heat, yes, I've had a number of teammates that have struggled in the heat, been removed from practice, had to go to the hospital. Obviously, in the early part of my career, Corey Stringer wasn't a teammate of mine, but obviously with the Minnesota Vikings and passed away. And it's hard at any age, but a 15-year-old is just
tragic.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers to his family, his friends, his team. It's a tragedy.
For sure, yes. So Detroit police came under fire after a woman actually jumped on one of their patrol vehicles and started dancing during a big weekend party. So the officers were on the scene. They were doing crowd control. There was tons of people gathered for this big party outside, and one of the women there decided to climb on top of the roof of one of the SUVs, and she started to dance. And there is video of this incident that has kind of gone viral, and it shows that the officers allowed this woman to continue to dance up on top of the car. She did eventually get off of the vehicle, but they didn't do anything, and some people are wondering why they didn't do anything or why they didn't arrest her for disorderly conduct. So there is now an investigation underway to determine if police did the right thing, but the interim Detroit Police Chief James White says, you know what, he completely stands behind the officers, and he says they did make the right decision. So he says what's frustrating to him is to read all these comments that the officers didn't do anything when they did exactly what people have been asking them to do, which is practice restraint. And he says if they would have done something, if they would have tried to drive away, she could have fallen off the top of the roof, she could have been injured, and he says if that would have happened, then he would have asked that question, was that the right decision? But there is an investigation underway to see if maybe they could have done something else. So there you have that. You guys, big news in New York. Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation on Tuesday. So this, of course, comes after New York's Attorney General concluded that he sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. So during a press conference, he said that his resignation would take place in 14 days. And he also said, quote, "The best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing, and therefore that is what I'll do." So as he is stepping down, the state's Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, will make history as the first woman to serve as New York governor. And she will kind of fill out the remainder of his term, which runs through 2022. And of course, during this press conference, Cuomo did continue to deny all of the allegations, calling them false and politically motivated.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. I mean, it's
It's an interesting one where you're going to deny that it happened, but also resign. So, I mean, I know there's clearly more at work, in the background there.
Yes, there's much more at work in the background.
So I mentioned this. It's a hot day today. You guys are out there. There's plenty of ways that you can cool down on a really hot day. I mean, if all you have is just some ice water, that will help you. You can turn on the sprinklers, go for a run through the sprinklers, the hose, maybe find a pool you could go to, or just find a place you could chill out indoors in some AC. Well, firefighters in Alabama had to rescue a woman after she decided to go for a swim in a massive water tank. One of those, not like somebody else's pool, but like one of those massive water tanks. So she climbed into the 70-foot-high water tank just to cool off on a hot day. And in order to do it, she had to break through a fence, and then she had to climb a ladder into the tank, which they say holds about 350,000 gallons of water. So she thought, brilliant idea, except when she got in, the hatch wasn't secure, and it actually closed behind her and trapped her inside of this water tank. So she could have easily died. Luckily for her, somebody spotted her. Somebody saw her doing this, notified authorities, police, firefighters, and the water department all arrived at the scene, and she had to be hoisted out of this big water tank with a harness, and they had to drain all of the water because she contaminated it, right? They had to drain it all, make sure it was all clean. I mean, such a wild situation. Thankfully, didn't end in her, demise. So
I'll just go with a glass of water and run through the sprinkler.
Go for the sprinklers. I mean, that's always fun. You know, there's so many things you can do. I know, crazy. I'm not a huge country music fan, but man, Luke Combs just seems like a great dude, like a great guy.
You always read the story about him.
It's really cool. So he just keeps giving back more and more. We talked about him earlier this year when he decided to kind of quietly pay for all the funeral expenses for the 3 young men who died at the Faster Horses Festival. And now he's actually paying for a North Carolina teacher's entire classroom school supply, which is so nice because teachers need so much and they pay for so many things on their own. So Kelly Kirk, she's a kindergarten teacher at a Title I school, and she recently actually reached out. I guess there's this hashtag going around. It's called Clear the List. It's like a big initiative to see if people will help pay for teachers' school supply lists. And she reached out on social media and she tagged Luke Combs in her Clear the List initiative, and he saw it and he decided to pay for her entire school supply list. So just a cool way to give back to somebody who needs it. So it just seems like a great guy.
Agreed. Yeah, he's stepping up. And you know that my mom was a teacher, so I know that these teachers are really struggling, especially with trying to keep up and get their own supplies. So, yeah,
and I don't think a lot of people realize how much of their own money teachers spend to set up their classroom, to help their students. They don't get a lot from the school. I mean, they get the classroom, right, with the desks and everything, but in order to make sure it's fully functioning for kids, teachers spend a ton of money. So very cool
Especially
story.
those elementary teachers.
Oh,
they got to make those classrooms exciting for the kids.
Right, and cheery, and yes, there's a lot to do, for sure. Finally, you guys, there is, I guess I'll ask you this question. Are you guys a planner or are you procrastinators?
I would say probably I'm a little bit of both. I'm more of a planner.
Plan and then wait till the last second to get it done.
I know what I've got to do and I plan it out, but I just plan it to be done at the last minute.
I would say I'm right there with you. If I had to pick one, I am more of a procrastinator, but I do know what needs to get done, just like you guys. Well, there's a new study that found that people who plan ahead tend to be happier, healthier, less stressed, and have more money than people who put things off. So it might be important to start changing our ways a little bit. I have a ton of stats about planners. Basically, if you do more things early, like, you know, if you do your taxes or you shop for Christmas presents or holidays early, you're less likely to be stressed while doing those things. John, I hear you've already done some of those things, so you're definitely a planner.
We'll get into that a little bit tomorrow, because, and I'll just say this, Christmas shopping has begun.
It's crazy.
It's not even September.
Coming Thursday, Costa Jansen Park. We'll talk about Christmas in August.